Hey, what's up, guys? This is Colton, and today I'm going to show you how I write my drum tracks and what I think is the secret to making these drum tracks sound realistic when you're programming them in software. I'm going to blaze through this whole setup process and go over some of the editing things. Feel free to skip ahead as far as you need to the part of the video that you want, but I'm going to try to cover a little bit of everything just for anybody that may not be familiar with it. So what we're going to do is create a new project. Create a combinator, and then we're going to edit this patch right here. Just browse to where your samples are. Mine are right here. Style kits rock. I use a combinator patch called Rock Ballad. While that's loading, I'm going to adjust this kick drum knob. And how I'm determining these preferences is just from experience and what I've come to like. And then I'm going to edit my snare sample to be this 10x6 snare drum. I really like that one. So that's pretty much all you got to do for setup. I know I went through that pretty quick, but I want to get to the editing because that's where the content in this video is. So what we're going to do now that we've got that set up, we're going to go down into edit mode because we're going to edit in the piano roll. We're going to go ahead and detach the sequencer to get full size window out of it. And then we're pretty much ready to go. So let's go ahead and shrink this down a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you very early on, the secret to making these drum tracks sound realistic is editing what's called the velocity right here. That's going to make or break the tracks. We're going to zoom in on this a little bit more, and I'm going to go ahead and snap this grid to eighth notes. So to tell you about the kind of groove that we're going to make and build, it's going to be a simple halftime groove. It's going to sound something like something, pretty groovy like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get that set up. So first, let's come down here and you can preview your drum sounds right here. So there's my kick and my snare. So let's go ahead and write this out. And it defaulted to 16th notes for some reason. But anyway, the first part's going to be eighth notes. So there's our kick and snare track right there. And really editing is as simple as figuring out where, in the beat you want the note, figuring out, which sound that you want, and literally just clicking it and adding it to it. That's very simple to make a beat that way. And I'll show you how we can edit that and add some flair to it later. But first, let's go find a hi-hat to use. I always forget where it is. All right, I'm going to use this one right here. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and set the grid to 16th notes, and I will tell you why in just a little bit. And basically all we have to do, you kind of have to have an understanding of rhythms and how these notes all line up together to edit this way. So if you need a little bit of help doing that, there's plenty of great tutorials out there that'll show you how to count musical time, because that's what we're using for this right here. So let me shrink this down a little bit so we can see it. So here's our basic groove that I told you about earlier. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy and paste it so that we can listen to the changes side by side. We're going to come here and paste it here, and I'm actually going to go ahead and grab our little marker so we can set it up to loop. All right, so what we're going to do, let me shrink this back down. So let's listen to the beat. I'm just going to let you guys hear it to see what it sounds like. So here's the groove. So as you can hear, it's exactly what I wanted it to be in terms of the rhythm and the beat. That's what we've got. But now we're going to get into making this sound like an actual human is sitting there playing the drum track instead of, software. And like I said, that key is going to be right here in the velocities. And you got to think about it, like a drummer. If you're not a drummer, then I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. But really, the hi-hat groove is what I'm mainly going to be editing, because that's what's going to make or break it. Because you can hear right now, It's just no drummer is going to be sitting there doing that. What they're going to do naturally, you can get your hand out and try this. Just imagine yourself playing a hi-hat and just sitting there grooving on it. Those off beats are going to be a lot softer. And, the main beats, the quarter notes, are going to be the ones with the accents on them. So the software doesn't know to do that automatically. It doesn't have the brain. We have to tell it to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit these velocities. So the quarter notes, the first beats, the down beats, are going to be the ones that you want to hear. The tss, 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 tss. And all the off beats, we're going to make them softer. So let's do that. And it's as simple as taking your pencil and then clicking on the velocity you want, or clicking on the note you want, and just dragging the velocity around, and it'll change it. And you can see up here the color will change to match the velocity. So we'll drop that down here, and depending on how crazy you want to get with it, you can edit all of these velocities to make them a little bit different, just to simulate being a human and how we're not going to do everything the exact same. It's a little bit trickier when you have notes like this, that line up together, like some of the kicks and snares, and they line up on the hi-hat beats. So to edit just that by itself, we've got a selected note right here. And then what we do is go back to our pencil, hold down your shift key, and then you click it, and then you can drag it. And as you can see, how there's a second little velocity right there? The one that we're editing is the one for the hi-hat, and we're leaving this one alone. So we've got, I'm sorry, I edited the wrong one. Let's edit the right one. So hard, soft, hard, and then soft. Make it a little bit different, and then we'll take this one and drag it down just to make it different. And this is the one that we actually want to change. So like I said, we're going to select it, go back to your pencil, hold down your shift key, and then drag. So hard, this one's going to be soft. So let me do the same thing again. And then that one's going to be fine. And then we drag that one down. And then pretty much the same for the rest of these. So you can just drag these down. And there's nothing right there, so it'll be a little bit easier to edit this. So now what we've got, as you can see, on the right here, you've got the computer sounding ones. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to that just to show you one more time what this is going to sound like. So the computer will sound like this. It's right, but let me show you the difference that velocity makes. Take a listen to this. You hear how much better that sounds? It sounds like someone's sitting there actually grooving on a kit rather than just sitting there playing a beat, which is what you want. And then one other little change I'm going to make is these two kick drums right here together. If I'm a drummer, I am a drummer, but if I'm sitting there playing that, I'm probably not going to hit both of those kick drums back to back the same intensity. The first one's probably going to be a little bit softer, so I can put a little bit more punch on the second one. Boom, boom, boom. So even when I say that, you hear it. So we're going to select that, and we're going to drag it down. Not anything too crazy, but, something about like that. It's a minor change, but hey, it's all the minor changes that are going to make your drum tracks come to life and sound real. So, some of these are a little bit too quiet, so I'm going to bring these up just a little bit. And I'm going to kind of make them all different just to simulate, just being a human. You're not going to do everything the exact same. So let's listen to it again. You can hear that kick drum too. How that kick drum is a little bit quieter. And now that we're used to hearing that, let's go back and listen to the computer one real quick. Listen to the difference. That kind of hurts my ears to listen to just because it makes me cringe. But basically, you get the idea of how to change these tracks to make them sound even more realistic. You just kind of have to think and put your mind in the mindset of what would a drummer do? If I'm playing drums, how am I actually going to be hitting that? Am I going to be striking all of these things the same? The same goes for drum rolls, anything. And what I'm going to show you now is a little bit of an extra bonus. We're going to add some ghost notes, to the snare drum, and a little bit of flair to the hi-hat as well. And that's why I changed the grid to 16th notes, because now we've got some room, to add some of those notes in there. So now that we drag it back here, you kind of have to have a feel for what a drummer would do on this one. It's kind of hard to do if you're not a drummer. But if you have a good sense of rhythm, then this should be no problem. All right, so what we're going to do for these ghost notes is we're going to do a groove that's kind of something like this. This may not be the best groove in the world to do, but it's going to be my example. It's going to be something like something like that. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and start adding these notes in there. So we'll have 1 E and 1 E and 1 E, 2. And there's going to be our 16th notes at the end. So let's see if those line up in the right place. Before we edit the velocities, we're just going to see if they line up right. All right, so they line up in the right place. And then we're going to do the same thing for the hi-hat. So we're going to do boom cuts, cuts, one and all right, so that's kind of what we want in terms of the notes. I know that sounds a little off right now, but we're going to fix it with the velocity. So first thing we'll do is the hi-hat. So we're going to drag this velocity down because we don't need that to be as hard. Let's see. So we'll make this one a little bit more. So we'll make these a little bit softer, both of these. And we'll make this one, the accented one. So you can see that's going to be going to have some accent on it. And then we're going to edit these ghost notes right here on the snare drum. And to make what I mean by ghost note, if you don't know what a ghost note is, basically it's kind of like a note that you don't hear, aka a ghost. So we'll click the shift key and we'll drag this down and make it pretty quiet. And then we're going to do the same thing for these last two. This one doesn't have one on it, so we can go ahead and drag that down, make that quiet. And we're going to do the same for this guy right here. All right, we're gonna make it pretty quiet too. So let's see what that sounds like. So let's go listen to our computerized sounding one, just for comparison purposes. So that's your basic groove. It sounds like a robot. Or you come back here. Here we go. Or you could have something that sounds like this. Complete silence. So you can just hear how much more realistic that sounds. And this is just a very, very basic example with one beat. If you apply this concept to an entire drum track that you've got, then the possibilities are going to be pretty much endless because you can adjust all these velocities to be all kinds of different things. And you can use this to spark some creativity as well. You can think, where can I put, a little flair of something just to kind of spice it up a little bit. And really, it'll add so much to your drum tracks, guys. You have no idea. I'm actually going to show you an example of a song that I was working on. So I've got a song called Firefight that I'm working on. Let me click in here. As you can see, this is like my entire drum track for it. I think this is the entire song. No, this is just a part of it. But either way, you can see the notes are, pretty crazy. And if I zoom in on it, you can see all these different velocities right here. You just see how, how they're all edited. Now, given some of these are, pretty basic, this is a demo track. But as you can see, you've got all these lighter colored ones. And I know it looks kind of crazy, but a lot of this, will be like, tom stuff. And I'll let you hear the beat so you can kind of just hear what it sounds like. It starts with a 4 count click, and then it comes into the song. So a good example of using the velocities is because I did a little snare roll right here. If all these velocities had been the same, it'd sound terrible. But as you can hear. So as you can tell, you can take something that sounds like this whole computerized version, and completely transform it into something that sounds a lot more believable, and it'll sound a whole lot better in your track when you're recording and bring the rest of the instruments in. This is just a really quick, basic introduction to it. If you want to know more, feel free to hit me up. Shoot me a comment, send me a message, whatever you want to do. If you want me to make a tutorial on something else, like a little bit more detail on how to actually edit, or if there's anything else you want me to give you a tutorial on as far as these drum tracks are concerned, or any other recording questions in general, just let me know. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see. Let me know what I can help you with, because I want to be as much help as I can. So take this, run with it, learn it, and go apply it to your music right now. Have a good one, guys.